The campaign stops come as Florida voters are turning out in record-breaking numbers. State election officials say more than 6.9 million Floridians have now voted. That is nearly 48% of registered voters in the state. Democrats have returned about 621,000 more mail-in ballots than Republicans, while GOP voters are leading in in-person early voting by about 375,000 ballots. We are seeing similar trends from voters here in Central Florida. News 6's Lauren Cervantes joins us now live at the Orange County Supervisor of Elections office with a closer look at the numbers. Lauren.
With 6 days left until Election Day, hundreds of thousands of votes have already been cast here in Orange County. But what do the numbers show, and are there any trends to note?
It's traditional for Democrats to outnumber Republicans in mail-in voting. It's traditional for Republicans to outnumber Democrats in early voting and on Election Day.
And so far in Orange County, the vote by mail numbers show just that. As of this afternoon, over 120,000 Democrats have voted by mail, compared to the over 52,000 Republicans, and more than 59,000 voters with their party affiliation listed as other have voted by mail.
We look at these numbers and say, oh, look, the Democrats are ahead of the Republicans, but almost a third of the votes are coming from so-called other voters, people who haven't registered with the Republicans or the Democrats. They are going to decide this election.
When you look at early voting compared to vote by mail, the gap between Democrats and Republicans shrinks. The numbers show over 79,000 Democrats have early voted, compared to over 54,000 Republicans. But it's not until you take a closer look at the early voting numbers from day to day that a trend is established. For example, when early voting started on October 19th, if you look at the Orange County Supervisor of Elections office, which is one of the county's busiest early voting locations, Democrats had 969 voters, compared to Republicans' 352. By October 25th, Democrats dropped to 518 and Republicans were at 266. For the most part, the number of Democrats that have come out to early vote has declined each day, whereas the number of Republicans who are early voting has held steady throughout.
You read into that Democrats tend to vote on weekends. Republicans tend to vote on weekdays.
UCF historian Jim Clark says despite any voter trends or what the numbers show now, it's still too early to tell which way the election is leaning in Florida.
It is way too early. We looked at these numbers 4 years ago and decided that Hillary Clinton was going to carry Florida. She didn't. She lost Florida and she lost the presidency.
Another thing Clark mentioned is that Republicans like to vote closer to the election and on Election Day. In Orange County, I'm Lauren Cervantes, getting results, News 6.